X to the fourth power means x times itself times itself times itself. It gives you x to the fourth power because they're all to the one power. X to the fifth power is the same, but it's 5 x's. 4, 5. So looking at x to the fourth, that's equal to x squared times x squared. Okay, and a square root means if we take the square root of x to the fourth, it means what times itself is equal to x to the fourth? X to the squared times x to the squared. So the square root of x to the fourth is equal to x squared. However, with x to the fifth, if we take the square root of x to the fifth, we're going to have something left behind because nothing times itself equals 5. So we can expand x to the fifth to be, if we know that x to the fourth times x is x to the fifth, then we can say, oh, the square root of x to the fifth is the same as x to the fourth times x. X to the fourth has a square root, which is x squared. We just took the square root of that. But this x we have to keep inside. And we just simplified that radical. So just like if we have the square root of 4 is 2 times 2, the square root of 4 is simply 2. Okay, but it's a little different when you're dealing with exponents. So let's look at a couple more complicated ones. If we see y to the third, this is just like the one I showed you, y to the third is the same thing as y squared times y to the 1. Y squared does have a square root because we know y to the 1 times y to the 1 is equal to y squared. What times itself is y squared? Well, y to the 1, or just y. And this other y we have to keep inside. If we see this, just take it one by one. So start out with a 30. You can use the factor tree method, which I'll use. So 2, 15, 3, 5. Do you see any of 2 of any one number that's listed here? No. 30 is simply 2 times 3 times 5. We can't simplify that, so we have to keep it inside. A to the fourth we can. The square root of a to the fourth is a squared. The square root of b to the fifth is b to the fourth times b. So we can take the square root of b to the fourth. It is b squared. So here's the answer. A squared, b squared, times the square root of 30b. Okay, let's look at this one. The 5 is going to remain on the outside. Let's simplify the square root of 20 is 4 times 5, which is 2 and 2. We have 2 2's. We're going to move it outside and make it 1, 2. In other words, what's happening here is 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So we keep that on the outside as well. The square root's going to be over here somewhere. And then does x have a square root? Does anything times itself equal 1? No, not when you're dealing with exponents. So we've got to leave x inside. So far we know we're leaving this 5 inside. We're leaving 5 because there's only one 5. We're leaving the x inside. X to the 11 is equal to x to the 10, y to the 11 is equal to y to the 10 times y. Y to the 10 has a square root. It's y to the 5. And this y we have to keep inside. Okay, z to the 15, same. It's z to the 14 times z. Z to the 14, the square root is z to the 7. And the other z we have to keep inside. And giving us a final answer of 10, y to the 5th, z to the 7, square root of 5x, y, z. There's the answer for that one. Let's do one more. So we have this going on. So we've got to simplify what's in the radical. If you ever have anything in a radical that can be simplified, always do so. So we've got 18, which is 9 and 2. We can take the square root of 9. It's 3, right? 3 times 3 is 9. So the square root of that is going to be 3. So we're going to move that outside. The 2, we're going to have to keep inside. So 2 is on the inside. We can take the square root of x to the fourth. It's x squared. And y to the 7 is y to the 6 times y. Sorry, I didn't write that correctly. It's y to the 6 times y. So we can take the square root of y to the 6, but the y we have to keep inside. So square root of y to the 6 is y to the 3rd. The square root of z squared is z. I'm going to shift over the square root sign a little bit. Sorry. Okay. So the 2's still inside. So now we're going to multiply the red ones times the blue ones, and those will, for some reason, make black ones. So 3 times 3, we've got 9. X squared times x squared, we've got x to the 4th. Y to the 3rd is just y to the 3rd. Z to the 3rd is just z to the 3rd. Square root of 2y, and we are done. We've simplified that.